Bears are very large and dangerous creatures. They're good at swimming, running, and getting over obstacles when it comes to foraging for food. They're able to penetrate even the most unusual places. In this episode, we'll see the most incredible moments with pin-toed animals that were lucky to be captured on camera. Remember, if you're going to ride a snowmobile around the wild, just like the characters of this video, never go near animals. Even if they behave quite peacefully, something may snap in their heads and they may try to attack. The author of this clip was born lucky. Otherwise, I can't explain that. Paws of a giant pin-toed animal were within inches away from the man. No one knows how this would have ended if he'd been forced down from the snowmobile. I think this would not have been good. This being said, you have to understand that bears encounter people not only in snowy conditions. The man named Troy was completely alone at home. However, out of the blue, a pin-toed creature decided to visit him. Despite the fact that nobody had invited the beast, it brazenly and unceremoniously tried to force its way to the house, and it even deformed a light protective door. Do you know what surprised me most of all? The reaction of the man. He didn't hide in the house, he didn't lock himself, and he didn't call for help. On the contrary, he faced the bear, who was angry about what he had done. Seemingly, it was not their first meeting. I think that it's quite normal for pin-toed animals to visit people. What's more, they're often not restricted to entering a house. They can steal food. Residents of the house with a surveillance camera being installed on the perch ordered food for supper. However, they did not manage to accept the order in time. The courier left, and a hungry beast came next. The predator crept to the doorstep of the house, felt the smell of fresh food, and it could not resist the temptation. It's funny to observe people that go out and after a while, they come back to find out that the supper disappeared. If it had not been for the surveillance camera or confirming photos of the courier that he took right after the order delivery, nobody would believe this story. Speaking of robbers, by all appearances, the desire to steal something is typical for any bear, except that it's manifested in a different way. Pin-toed animals from our next video, for example, decided to steal the hearts of those who were on the beach at that moment. These big animals seemed to be too cute and kind. They peacefully reached the beach, went into shallow waters, and started to splash with all their family, having a good time. It seems to be there's nothing unusual here. A pickup is standing by the house and the sun is shining. The only thing is wrong, the garbage bin is overturned. A man may have parked unsuccessfully and he could have brushed shoulders with it on the way to his car. Yes, many people can believe this, but as long as they approach the car and look at what's happening inside, they'll find a giant pin-toed animal on the front seat. It stays put and it does not seem to leave. The author of the clip keeps silent about how exactly the animal forced its way to the car. However, for some reason, it seems to me that the animal penetrated through an open door. The frightened man instantly locked the door, and he regretted doing so then. While the bear was waiting for its liberation, it kept itself busy with sharpening its claws against anything that was in the car. It was trying to teach the man to prevent him from locking a predator in his own car. Anyway, it's lucky that it's only the car that was damaged. The man and the bear were safe and sound. We've all heard that keeping our eyes glued to the telephone is not the best pastime, except that whatever doctors may say, it's not everybody who listens to them. The most effective method in this case is to let a man get it personally and have a taste of it. Largely, let one get in the same situation as the character of this clip. The man was lying not far away from his house, and he was deeply engrossed in something in his smartphone. Interestingly, he was so deep in it that for a while, he didn't even notice a big predator that approached him. Fortunately, no one was going to attack the house owner. They just exchanged a couple of frightening looks and left each other alone. What length would you have to go for the sake of science? For example, scientists who are eager to study new or rare animal species spend huge amounts of time for night vision cameras. It's important that they're of good quality, as well as that there are as many of them as possible. Except that researchers do not take into account one essential moment. Animals are not silly creatures. Many of them can see and understand that. That's why they consciously try not to get caught in the lens. There are also those behaving like this bear. They're glad to be captured. What's even more, they take a couple of hundred of selfies a night. Jokes are jokes, but the pin-toed animal has really succeeded in doing so. The bear turned out to be photogenic. When I look at all this, I come up with a question. Why not ask animals to do a favor? For example, so that they would lead people to rare forest inhabitants or take pictures of them. You may think it's nonsense, but I don't think so. The more so as there are a lot of clips on the internet with big, strong, and predatory species listening to people as if they were not bears at all, but some cute and small small dogs. The predator from this video visited a girl and decided to steal a bird feeder when she didn't notice that. Unfortunately for the bear, the hostess looked at a surveillance camera in time and managed to catch the pin-toed animal red-handed. She turned on the microphone and she loudly asked the bear to leave the feeder alone and come back to the forest. To my great surprise, the predator listened to the command at the first try. What is it if it's no conscience and the ability to listen? What's the best entertainment for you? For some, it's film watching in a good company, whereas for others, it's favorite sports practice. Still others, just like this bear, prefer to take an ordinary palm leaf in their hands. They can make the best toy in their life from it and fiddle with it all the night as passionately as possible. This video was captured by a surveillance camera in South Carolina. The device, set by the entrance door of the resident of Greenwell, caught the moment with a bear ringing a bell after going up the perch in the deepest night. According to the hostess, this happened about 3:30 a.m. when everybody was soundly asleep. The device reacted to the animal approaching the entrance door. This is what made the recording start. Don't worry, there was no real meeting with people there. The bear, disappointed by complete loneliness, turned away and left for the forest soon. Would you open the door to the animal? Write in the comments. I personally would not open the door to pin-toed animals, even if we don't take into account the fear factor. I'd be worried for my refrigerator. In the majority of the cases with these animals, they penetrate people's houses not to frighten us, but to get to our refrigerator and steal something tasty. If this treasure is just by the entrance, as well as in the next video, everything is perfect for a bear. The animal will not even pass its eyes. It'll confidently approach, it'll open the fridge, and it will take everything it likes. Just try to say something against it. Riding along snowy slopes, you have to be attentive. Firstly, you risk slipping and coming off the snowmobile by accident in such weather conditions. Secondly, even despite snow, many dangerous and wild creatures can live there that can easily catch up with even the quickest snowmobile. One wrong movement and a small avalanche will be enough for a bear to get to the moving target. I think you understand now how dangerous the story was. The bear appeared literally out of nowhere, stood on the top. That's why it was noticed just at the 11th hour. Fortunately for the tourist, the animal was satisfied and it was not going to prosecute the tourist. In our next video, a real criminal penetrated the house. There was one snug in this story. The offender did not have to fear any law enforcement authorities. After all, it was a dangerous and large predator. A family from Montana were sound asleep, and they did not expect any visitors when suddenly they heard a strange noise from the depth of their house. Residents decided to find out what was happening. They entered a neighboring room and became speechless. A bear penetrated the room through a door that was left open by negligence. As soon as the beast found itself in the house, the door was locked, and the bear ended up in the trap. Except that it was not disappointed. The animal hid in the wardrobe, settled down on the shelf, and it fell asleep. It's interesting to learn, how did they take the bear out of there? I'd like to see that. In the next video, bear scuffles await you. Don't worry, there will be no tough stuff here. Though it's a brawl of two predators, they're still very small. That's why it looks far from awful, but cute and funny. Have you ever seen bears resting in a hammock? I haven't. Spoiler, you won't see them here. The thing is that these pin-toed animals were so interested in this human invention that they couldn't resist the temptation, and this way they spoiled everything. Well, one of them was trying to climb the hammock and settle down comfortably in it. A second one was doing the same, and it broke the equilibrium of both. They say that the bears are still trying to climb there. Leave a like if you believe in their final success. However cute the pin-toed creatures from this clip may be, for some reason I think that they did not manage to find their place in the hammock. It's highly likely that they simply tore it. It's the bear from our next video that I believe in much more. It started to prosecute young goats right in plain sight. Whatever pity on the hoofed animals you may take, these are the rules of wildlife. It's extremely difficult to escape a hungry bear. After all, the forces of the animal are always fed with a sense of hunger. This is the most effective fuel that you can only imagine. Bear in mind that if you see a hungry bear in front of you, it's not worth panicking and running away like goats. In this case, there will be no survival chances at all. It's much better to produce a loud sound and put your hands up. It's even better if you take something huge into them. In a nutshell, it's necessary to frighten the predator. The bear will see that it has something big, loud, and important in front of it. They'll see that attacking isn't worth it. Bears are far from silly predators. That's why they'll peacefully and calmly retreat in 99% of cases, as well as in this video. video, you'd better never stay alone when it comes to traveling around the wild. A big number of people is another working method to banish the predator from presence. In this difficult situation, as it seems to be, a bear rushed to a boat passing by at a high speed. People capturing this on camera rendered aid, and they instantly started to utter loud sounds. As a result, the bear changed its plans shortly after that, and it turned around in the direction of the bank. It's interesting, what aim of the attack did the bear pursue? Maybe he just protected its native territory. Or, I don't know, maybe the bear didn't attack but ran to look at a new swimming object. Write your opinion in the comments. That's literally what I've just told. It's better to go to the wild as a group, not alone. However, the man from this clip didn't care about these rules and recommendations. He was so self-confident that he went to the bear den absolutely alone. No, he was still in the company. A pin-toed animal that sat down not far away from the man's camera could be his old friend who successfully came to agreement with its brethren so that they wouldn't attack him. In this case, everything's quite logical. Here's what does not seem logical. This is what's happening in this story. The video was captured by a random passerby from British Columbia in Canada. The man was filming a sports event. In the meantime, someone unusual caught his eye. A real black bear climbed the tree to feed on berries. The branch that he was sitting on hung over the road with a race going on. Fortunately, the cyclist didn't see that. But if you understand how meticulous the situation is, the ride gets different colors. In this situation, tourists couldn't help but notice pin-toed animals. Rather, big predators went out of the forest right in front of people. They looked around and they ran away. People that were walking along the road with a camera could even hear these behemoths breathing. Imagine how alarming and at the same time dangerous it was. A resident of Florida was often annoyed by the fact that she had different cats and dogs gathering on her perch. One night she went out to the street expecting to see feral animals again, but it was a huge bear she met instead. According to her, the bear was likely not to approach her, but a neighbor's garbage bin. Anyway, I would revise my views on life. Maybe those gatherings of cats and dogs were not so bad. Now be ready. I'll show you a furious brawl between a bear and a tiger. Which of them will come out victorious? An agile and quick cat or a fearless and heavy pin-toed animal? Spoiler, we won't see the result of the battle because we can hardly call it a battle. You can see two cubs trying to sort things out. They're still too small and cute to pose a danger to those around. It's interesting for which reason could they have come up with an argument. Maybe they were at odds over forage. In the place of people that filmed this video, I would not try to separate them. Let them gradually hone their fighting skills. Sparring is still the best method for this. While cubs are fighting, adult bears are busy with their own things. They look after each other and they try to find someone to mate with. You must admit that this looks very unusual. Two huge and strong white bears are sniffing to each other. They roll in the snow and they go down a slope. Jokes aside, it's very important to animals to choose a suitable partner. Which bear could be 100 times more dangerous and powerful than a grizzly? I don't know about you, but I think it would have to be a very large bear. I would even say an abnormal one. History knows a few such monsters that are hard to believe they even existed. The first is a bear that was captured in Alaska in 1952. It was neutralized by hunter Roy Lindsley. Unfortunately, due to the fact that it was a long time ago, there's almost no footage of this individual. But even in words, it'll be clear how colossal the bear was. Just think about it. It weighed over a ton. Even polar bears, the largest on the planet, don't grow to that size. It's believed that Roy caught an Alaskan peninsula brown bear, a subspecies of the common brown bear. Not only the weight of the huge bear is impressive, but also its head. It was 18 inches long and 13 inches wide. The skull, by the way, is kept in one of the museums in Los Angeles. As Roy said, during the capture he was very scared. Even this experienced employee of the Wild Animal Service had his hands shaking violently while working. Of course, such a bear can scare anyone. But this is not the only abnormal giant. The second one was caught about 10 years ago in Yakutia. This individual was truly huge. Its weight exceeded a ton, and the age of the bear was about 20 years. This predator, which was nicknamed Bearzilla because of its monstrous size, attacked people and had to be captured. The grizzly bear is not even close to this monster. It could defeat any opponent with one bite. Dangerous bears are not just any specific individuals, they're basically entire species. Let's take a look at them now. First up is the sloth bear, and It may even seem strange. These bears are small and they don't look menacing. Are they a threat? They are. In the world of bears, size is not always the main factor, and you'll see that again at the end of this episode. As for the sloth bear, it's really not big, but not small either. It weighs about 220 pounds and is as long as an adult. Although it's smaller than grizzly or polar bears, it's often much more dangerous than them. Once in 5 years, almost 50 people became victims of these bears. Brown bears have less frightening statistics. These bears live in Asia and are not afraid of anyone there at all. They can even fight a tiger, and not just fight but defeat this big cat. And defeating one of the most dangerous predators on the planet is worth much. Also, sloth bears fight with leopards, but it's even easier to fight them. Usually, sloth bears defeat leopards without problems. Only a large tiger can overpower an adult sloth bear, and then not always. Sloth bears do not attack people without any reason, but if a person is close to them, they're likely to attack them. It's better not to check this and always stay away from sloth bears. These creatures are aggressive, unpredictable, and reckless. Asian black bear. Externally, this bear is a bit similar to the sloth bear. However, they belong to a different species. As you can understand from the name, the Asian black bear lives in Asia. In terms of size, it's about the same as the sloth bear. It doesn't lead a typical bear lifestyle. It climbs trees very often and eats mostly plants. Meat makes up only about 15% of its diet and includes mostly carrion. But don't think that this half-vegan is harmless. Not at all. It's still a predator that can hunt. And if it doesn't hunt, it can certainly attack. When encountering a human, an Asian black bear behaves aggressively and tries to attack them. Unfortunately, there are many cases when this ended tragically. This bear is especially dangerous if it's with its cubs. The Asian black bear is most aggressive after leaving the den with its cubs. Females protect their cubs zealously, and it's better to stay as far away from them as possible. Polar bear. Scientists often argue with each other about which bear is the most dangerous in the world, the grizzly bear or the polar bear. Some say the grizzly bear is the most dangerous because it fights to the bitter end, has longer and sharper claws, and is much faster. Others say that the Arctic animal is stronger because it's a full-fledged carnivorous, which is infamous for its giant size. Although, according to the results of research, many scientists recognize the grizzly as the strongest bear, I would still put the polar bear in first place. If you put them in equal conditions, the grizzly is unlikely to defeat such a giant. After all, the polar bear is the world's largest bear. The mass of some individuals can reach 1,765 pounds. Their body length is 8.2 feet, and their height on 4 legs is 5 feet. Like I said, the polar bear is a full-fledged carnivorous. You won't find honey or much tasty vegetation in the Arctic, so the polar bear relies only on prey in the form of animals. This fact makes it very dangerous because hunting some walruses is much more difficult than stealing honey from bees. In general, the polar bear hunts literally on any animals. In its area, it's the top predator, and if necessary, it can defeat even a huge walrus or a beluga whale. But they're still a difficult prey. Much more often, these bears prey on seals, which have only one option of rescue: to hide, swim, and run on their flippers. Polar bears are excellent hunters. They swim and run fast. They're masters of ambush attacks, so it's very difficult to cope with them. If the Arctic were densely populated, polar bear attacks on people would occur every day. Black bear. We got polar bears. Why not look at black bears now? The black bear is another animal to be wary of. In general, the black bear is a rather controversial creature. On the one hand, it's not as huge as the grizzly bear. The largest individual weighed 741 pounds. On average, black bears rarely gain even more than 440 to 500 pounds of weight. In addition, black bears are often called quite timid ones. Scientists say that they do not often attack people, even when wounded. Statistically, there is only one fatal attack per 750,000 black bears in North America, their homeland. On the other hand, it's still better not to mess with black bears. Black bears, accustomed to feeding near human habitation, are particularly dangerous. There are known cases when black bears have injured or killed people who interfered with them. In addition, if we take general statistics, it turns out that black bears have killed even more people than brown bears. But how? Scientists say that it's all a matter of numbers. Black bears are much more numerous, hence such not the fairest statistics. In any case, the black bear is still a bear. It's still a large predator, which means it's dangerous in any case. Kodiak bear. These bears were named after the Kodiak Archipelago off the southern coast of Alaska, where they live and impress everyone with their size. The Kodiak bear is the largest brown bear in the world. In general, it's a subspecies of the brown bear, not a separate species. Kodiak bears reach 6.5 to 10 feet in length. While on four legs, their height can exceed 5 feet, and they weigh half a ton or more. The largest Kodiak bear weighed 1,720 pounds. This is the size of the largest polar bears. Kodiak bears, like black bears, are another contradiction. But this time it's not so clear-cut. I mean, the Kodiak bears are really dangerous. After all, such colossal size has to be reckoned with. In the 20th century, Kodiak bears attacked people very often and behaved extremely aggressively. This led to the beginning of mass hunting of Kodiak bears. Unfortunately, hunters did a lot of damage to the subspecies, and now there are only about 3,000 Kodiak bears left in the wild. They're protected and preserved, but this doesn't mean that the bears have relaxed. They're still dangerous to everyone, and one must remain vigilant with them. Remember when I told you that size was not always the main factor in the bear world? Well, this next bear is a perfect example of that. This is the sun bear, and it's the smallest bear on the planet. It doesn't exceed 5 feet in length and weighs about 66 to 132 pounds. The size, to put it mildly, is not serious. Nevertheless, these bears are often called aggressive, dangerous, and evil, and there are reasons for this. Sun bears fiercely sort things out with each other, attack birds and lizards, and their powerful jaws allow them to bite even coconuts in half. When encountering humans, a sun bear can attack sharply without warning. It uses its strong paws, teeth, and claws, which can reach up to 4 inches in length. They're even longer than those of the brown bear. This predator also has a very large tongue. It's up to 12 inches long. And yet, the sun bear cannot be called very reckless. It can attack and even maim someone, but more often it doesn't care about it. The small bear prefers to spend its time eating insects and honey, building nests of branches and leaves, and sunbathing. Stay with us. After all, we have something more to show except for bears. Later on, other insane cases with animals captured on camera wait for you. Some say dogs are absolutely useless in the household, and it's a myth that they're man's best friend, considering this the major misconceptions of our time. Yep, how could it not be so? The dog from this video proves that he can listen to his mistress and understand everything she tells him. Even if she even asks to take off her socks, this noble dog agrees to everything. This dog, if you would also like to have a loyal four-legged friend, is ready to take off your socks, bring you a cup of coffee, and change the channel on the TV. Baseball games are considered something boring, and I would even say incomprehensible to many people. What follows when they throw that ball? Where do the players run to, and how are points counted? So many questions, and it's hard to understand it all. It's much more fun to watch the camera outside while at the match because sometimes it can capture really rare moments. In this case, for example, the camera filmed a boy walking his favorite dog and letting him ride his skateboard. The four-legged dog was definitely on his wave, riding so clearly and at the same time fast as many people cannot. By the way, this boy is a devoted fan of the team who was late for family reasons but still came to the match. And his dog is a loyal and kind companion who's always by his side. If I were the other fans, I'd make a banner in their honor. They're such a colorful couple. The people in the following story decided to install hidden cameras somewhere in the middle of the woods. They planned to film the lives of the local bears to see how they hunt, eat, where they spend their free time, and things like that. But what they actually managed to film is amazing. People captured a dancing bear that walked up to the nearest tree, stood on its hind legs, pressed its back against it, and started to turn in different directions, all the while holding onto a branch at the top. Personally, it reminded me of the dance of some singer who stands at a microphone and moves to the beat of his music. So is the bear moving on in our talent show? What's your assessment? It's not just rough bears that can be so playful and lilting in the wild, but also giant, unapproachable elephants. When the situation is favorable, they too can relax. In the presence of their elders, of course, because no one ever forgets about safety. But still. In this video, a man was resting next to a group of elephants when suddenly a mother and her cub came to visit him. Probably the baby wanted to play with the man, and the mother couldn't refuse him. As a result, she stood nearby and controlled everything so that nothing dangerous happened. And the baby at the same time had fun and spent energy on all 100% having a great time. Agree to become a best friend for an elephant, even if only for a couple of minutes, is worth a lot. When people have bad luck and find themselves in an unenviable position, losing sight, hearing, losing a limb, they often discover a predisposition for something else. They may learn to play the guitar amazingly, discover a unique gift or something. Apparently, it works exactly the same way in animals, because you have a living example of it in front of you. This cute cat named Cooley was homeless his whole childhood. At one point, he got a terrible infection, but no one could help him. No one except random passers-by who never had pets at all. Nevertheless, Cooley caught their attention at first sight and immediately won their hearts. They took the kitten with them, treated it, but the eye still had to be removed. Nevertheless, Fluffy moved to Hawaii and discovered an incredible love for surfing. Now he regularly conquers the waves together with the owner, supporting her in all her endeavors concerning the board. According to the girl, at first they rolled the cat on separate surfboards and put a life jacket on the brave pet, but now the cat already swims perfectly well on his own and is not even afraid to ride on the same board with his mistress. Despite the fact that it's deep and quite dangerous, the little guy trusts his friend 100%, and that's very cool. Flooding is a terrible phenomenon that unfortunately cannot be avoided by all those who live near seas and oceans. Water can often overflow its banks and flood towns and nearby villages. Usually, nothing follows. The authorities quickly intervene, pump out the liquid, and resume a peaceful life. That would have been the case this time, but something incredible happened. Along with the water, a huge number of snakes crawled out of the forests and nearby bushes. They'd always lived there, but somehow remained unseen. Apparently, they got tired of it and decided to show the world what they could do. Fortunately for the locals, none of the snakes were aggressive. They just walked and swam around the village, and when the water went away, crawled back to their homes. However, such a story itself could not but alert the residents. What if it happens again? More snakes crawl out and they don't want to leave so easily. How would you act in such a case in the place of the people? Write in the comments. Kindest creature. A lot of people start diving in order to meet some huge, dangerous shark, piranhas, or, I don't know, to shoot a marina. But I'm not really into it. I think I'm not the only person who doesn't ask for trouble. For me, it's much more pleasant and interesting to dive under the water and meet nice, positive creatures. It's easy to get in touch with them, exchange good energy, raise my mood, and still get an energy boost. In short, I'd like to be on the shores of this diver who had a nice vacation with a little manatee. Speaking of these herbivorous mammals, did you know that they can swim at speeds of up to 18 miles an hour? Yeah, I was surprised too, as they don't look like speedy creatures at all. However, it turns out that their huge and massive tail is the perfect flipper, with which they conquer any peak, that is, the depths. And it's because of the tail, by the way, back in the 15th century, sailors took these creatures for mermaids. People thought they were mystic creatures, the stuff of legends, except they're not as beautiful as they say they are. I don't know what the travelers didn't like. As far as I'm concerned, they're quite nice creatures with not less mystic features than the same mermaids. For example, manatees have about 2,000 thick hairs on their face and 3,000 on their body. These innervated follicles help the manatee to sense and explore the world around them in ways we can't even imagine. A young couple out for an evening walk, just him, her, and their favorite little dog. The road is illuminated by a pleasant moon, and there's incredible silence on the street. It would seem that what could ruin this moment? Let me put it this way. There's no way I would have believed what happened next without a surveillance camera capturing it all. At the moment when their dog went to the bathroom, so to speak, the couple was attacked by a giant bear. He began to chase the people dozens of meters, and they rushed to run toward the house. Luckily for them, they had no time to get far at that moment, so everyone, even their dog, managed to hide behind the door. The bear didn't go for a ram, it just stopped, resigned himself to the failure of the hunt, and went his way back into the forest. I'm afraid to imagine what could have happened if the bear had caught up with the people running away from him. If I were the residents of this neighborhood, I would report this case to the authorities. Let them somehow establish control over wild animals in the area, because this is not a good thing at all. That's about it. Write in the comments which case surprised you the most. If you're interested, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.